Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining me in this what appears to be an apocalypse, but I do not think so. They would like to think so, but I do not. I don't see it happening. But yes, this morning's stream is going to be about the obvious Agenda 2030 land grab over in California. Call it Lahaina 2.0, if you will, right? Let me just say hi to everybody and address a couple questions that we had here in the chat. Thank you guys for waiting those few minutes. Sorry about that. I, working third shift. I was just trying to finish up a little preparation. So, let's see. Let's say hi to NDB, Lord Racer, Eldon Bean. Good to see you guys. Jeebus Crisp. Hopefully I answered your question satisfactorily. No, I am not on IG. To answer that question. Good to see you, Beyond Elemental. And I will not be going to Rumble this morning, but it may strike the stream. Honestly, I don't give a shit. Tricky Dicky, good to see you, buddy. Pushing Buttons, good morning. Godheart Guardian, Osram, Escheat. I think I find it horseshit. I got you. That's funny. Escheat, right? Or if I'm wrong, let me know. But let's see. I think Mac 65625. Good to see you. And that's an interesting name right there. That would be PIMP Moiled My Foreskin. That's an interesting, guys. You get creative with this stuff, don't you? So yeah, we're going to address this. I've actually come up. Not only am I going to tell you what they are doing, but I'm going to tell you how they're doing it. And so a lot of people, honestly, of all the public figures that I've seen over the last couple of days covering this, there's only one that's honestly covering it, and that would be, honestly, it's Alex Jones. I mean, I'm surprised to say it myself. His personality is abrasive, but checked into his evidence. I've got some documents to prove the stuff he's talking about, and he's on point. So but other than him, everybody wants you to think this is an accident. And I want to tell you guys, and this is the same thing they did with Joe Biden for the last 4 years, 5 years, however long. It's better to be seen as incompetent than corrupt, right? Because incompetence, people are just like, oh, that guy should have never been in there. Or, just everybody, he obviously has dementia. How does nobody, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. But, he probably does not even have dementia. He's probably not even Joe Biden. Honestly, it's probably a guy in a rubber mask playing like he's an idiot so that they can do all this heinous stuff, like shut down the airspace over the I almost called it Lahaina because it did basically the same thing, right? Except for I'm not sure they used dues on this one. I just thought the thumbnail, I had that made and that was pretty cool. Kind of alluring, but they want you to think that this stuff is a result of incompetence, and he shuts down the airspace above this massive fire in LA, and it's LA of all places, right? So we obviously know what the end goal is, and I have that pulled up as well. It's in 2028 the Olympics are going to be held there, guys, and they want that to be a smart city by the time the Olympics are held there. Okay. So you have this interesting thing going on within these states, all right? And I know, listen, I'm not the part of the two-party paradigm or two-party bipolar type of situation, because both Democrats and Republicans are assholes for the most part, and they're all bought by China and communism, because that's really what we are fighting is communism. It's worldwide communism, and it has been for a very long time. And communism is just the latest distillation of a way to Escheat, and we're going to actually go over the definition of that this morning. Escheat all of the property in the world to a corporation that never dies. It's called mortmain. See, King Edward I had a problem with this a long time ago because a certain institution that was basically the first type of corporation, everybody kept leaving their church to it. The church, so they kept leaving their land to it over and over again. King Edward had an issue with this, and he issued the doctrine of mortmain, said no more leaving your lands to an entity that never dies. See, corporations do not have heirs, they have successors. And I'm also going to show you guys how this goes all the way back. The concept of of blood and kinship, of inheritance, is ancient. It's as ancient as Nero and the reason he burned Rome to the ground. And this is the same merchant class of people, because it's the merchants that want to basically take all the property and become gods on earth. It's the same merchant class, and it's the same tactics, and ultimately it's probably the same descendants, though I couldn't say for sure. And so, it's way beyond any church, because now you have all sorts of churches everywhere, and it's beyond any church now, and it's now become the concept of ownership through corporation, because then they can permanently hold it. And these people who are the stakeholders, not the shareholders, but the founders and the stakeholders of the corporations, will leave the stake to their heirs, but the property the corporation owns will just merely go on in perpetuity, and you'll never be able to get it out of that corporation's hands. We're going to get into some of that stuff, but the very first thing that I want to do, let me just make sure nobody else popped in while I was running my mouth. We got Lazarus Wolf. There's our favorite troll, who would never come on this show and have a debate with me, ever, never would, because he's a pussy and he just likes to talk in the chat. And then we got Peg's Place, which is one of our lovely subscribers. Good to see you this morning. So very first thing I want to do is show you exactly what we're up against. When I say global, or they call themselves globalists, this is worldwide communism, technocratic tyranny. This is what I mean. And you guys got to check this out. Watch. I don't know if you've seen this before. If you have not, it will probably make your jaw drop.
First off, a video. It's going to make you see the future and understand a wonderful future where we can use brainwaves to fight crime, be more productive, and find love. Let's roll.
You're in the zone. Even you can't believe how productive you've been. Your memo is finished, your inbox is under control, and you're feeling sharper than you have in a decade. Sensing your joy, your playlist shifts to your favorite song, sending chills up your spine as the music begins to play. You glance at the program running in the background on your computer screen and notice a now familiar sight that appears whenever you're overloaded with pleasure. Your theta brainwave activity decreasing in the temporal regions of your brain. You mentally move the cursor to the left and scroll through your brain data over the past few hours. You can see your stress levels rising as the deadline to finish your memo approached, causing a peak in your beta brainwave activity right before an alert popped up, telling you to take a brain break. But what's that unusual change in your brain activity when you're asleep? It started earlier in the month. You send a text message to your doctor with a mental swipe of your cursor. Could you take a quick look at my brain data? Anything to worry about? Your mind starts to wander to the new colleague on your team, whom you know you shouldn't be daydreaming about, given the policy against intra-office romance. But you can't help fantasizing just a little. But then you start to worry that your boss will notice your amorous feelings when she checks your brain activity and shift your attention back to the present. You breathe a sigh of relief when the email...
You see how pleasant they're trying to make this sound? Like your boss is in the office monitoring your brain waves and translating your brain waves. And notices when you're not productive at work because you're thinking about a man or woman that you're interested in, or depending on what sex you are and all that stuff, right? And they want to build entire cities of this. And now wait till we get to the end of this, because this is not something that's possible or coming in the future. They tell you, and I'm not sure if it's this clip, if I got a long enough clip pulled up, but if you watch the full clip of this, they tell you we have this now. They're just waiting for consent to actually use what they're getting. So when you're sitting there thinking of something, looking at your phone, you're thinking, and then all of a sudden you start getting this is real. They're using it. They just don't have permission to tell you that they're using it, and they don't have permission to openly use it against you. But this is what they want to do, okay? And they want you to be in these little 15-minute smart cities filled with this technology. So if you ever thought about any kind of dissidence or escaping or anything like that, the authorities are immediately notified, okay? Immediately notified. And then, some black car pulls up with a bunch of goons, and then nobody ever hears you. Remember 1984, right? that person never existed. Nobody will ever talk about that person. If you've read the book, I have read the book. Nobody will ever talk about that person. They'll just go on acting as if it ever existed, because if anybody talks about that person, then the thought police come for them. This is real life. These people really want to do this. This is really what we're up against. This is technocratic communism. Okay. And beyond that, they want to lock you into a UBI, universal basic income. So what they want to do is they want to, make sure you can never start a business or be a business owner, do anything but be a human resource for one of these mega corporations. Okay. That's going to be the new feudal lord, is going to be a mega corporation. Or maybe it'll just be the umbrella corporation, probably at the top. That's absolutely what it'll be. But you'll get one of the mega corporations underneath, right? And so you'll never be able to be a business owner, and they're not even going to pay you enough to live. Instead, what they're going to do is they're going to pay you enough that you need a subsidy, a universal basic income, because most things are going to be done by AI anyway. In their dreams, this is what they want. This is not going to happen, but this is what they want. This is what they're working towards or trying to make happen. This is why they want Kamala Harris in the fucking White House. And that's why she didn't know what the plan was, because she was too damn stupid, right, to keep it to herself. So they want to pay you just enough to where you need a UBI subsidy, okay, from the government. Well, that subsidy is going to be based on your social credit. All right. And so if you have some wrong thought and your social credit score drops and stuff, next thing you know, you don't get your subsidy, you can't pay your bills. Who knows? Once you become too poor to pay for your home, they probably euthanize you. Okay. Look at Canada. Forget, and I love my Canadian subscribers, and I'm not trying to bash on Canada, but Trudeau has done a number up there. And don't get me wrong, because in 1812, you guys kicked our ass. Okay. You did. You kicked our ass in 1812. So I'm not saying you're not tough. I don't know what the hell happened up there, but that's the situation. So anyway, let's continue watching this.
Email she sends you later that day congratulates you on your brain metrics from the
Morning.
past quarter, which have earned you another performance bonus. You head home jamming to the music with your work-issued brain-sensing earbuds still in. When you arrive at work the next day, a somber cloud has fallen over the office. Along with emails, text messages, and GPS location data, the government has subpoenaed employees' brainwave data from the past year.
Hold on.
They have compelled.
Well, we got to back this up a little bit, okay? Because this is not a parody. This isn't satire. This is the World Economic Forum's video telling you this is what they want to do to you, and they're making it sound like it's a good thing. This is right out of one of their speeches. This is their video, the World Economic Forum's fucking video, dude. Okay, so this isn't like somebody's like, oh, this could happen. No, this is, we have the technology to do this, and we want to do this to you. And hey, isn't this great? Right? But I bet you the people sitting in the audience aren't somebody who'd be sitting in front of the computer screen like this cartoon woman here. It would be the person cracking the whip at the top of the fucking corporate chain. That's who's actually sitting in the audience of that World Economic Forum meeting. But let's continue.
Earned you another performance bonus.
Listen to this.
You head home jamming to the music with your work-issued brain-sensing earbuds still in. When you arrive at work the next day, a somber cloud has fallen over the office. Along with emails, text messages, and GPS location data, the government has subpoenaed employees' brainwave data from the past year. They have compelling evidence that one of your coworkers has committed massive wire fraud. Now, they're looking for his co-conspirators. You discover they are looking for synchronized brain activity between your coworker and the people he has been working with. While you know you're innocent of any crime, you've been secretly working with him on a new startup venture.
Uh-oh.
Shaking, you remove your earbuds.
Off to the Ministry of Truth with you.
What do you think? Is it a future you're ready for?
Look at her, though, you psychopath. What a fucking psychopath.
Maybe surprised to learn that it's a future that has already arrived. Everything in that video that you just saw is based on technology that is already here today. Artificial intelligence has enabled advances in decoding brain activity in ways that we never before thought possible.
Insane. That's insane. Okay, guys? And if you don't think it's communists doing this, and this is how I'm going to kind of lead into the Lahaina 2.0, we'll call it the Palisades, right? which Palisades is where specifically where they want to establish this smart city by 2028. And they have plans for it. And we'll get to that eventually in this video. We are going to go through some dry law stuff so you guys really understand why and how they're able to do this. And then we're going to get back to some more videos. But first, let me show you for sure. These are communists. I mean, if you don't see it, they're openly communists. I mean, people are joking Kamala Harris about being a communist. Gavin Newsom is running a communist country over in California. He freaking cleaned up the streets for Xi Jinping to come over there, right? So you've got this big homeless infestation. I mean, I watch podcasts from people that are over in California. They got to literally, they're running down one of their running, paths, joggers paths, and they got to jump over human feces, right? So he's presiding over the state, has a homeless infestation, drug addicts everywhere, right? And the drug addicts are lunatics in the first place. And then Xi Jinping's going to come over and visit, probably to discuss business, like how are you managing my property, right? Because it's communist China, California, right? And before Xi Jinping gets there, he cleans up the whole state, or cleans up all the homeless out of where I think it was San Francisco, where he definitely didn't clean up the whole state, but it was I misspoke. But he cleaned up, I think it was San Francisco, or was where he was going. But wherever Xi Jinping was coming to take a tour, he cleaned up all the homeless out of that. That's a fact. You guys can look it up, do some legwork and check it out. That's a fact. And then right after Xi left, he just let it go to shit again. He's a communist car salesman, piece of shit. Now, beyond that, I'm going to show you something. The mayor of Los Angeles, who was also out of town with Gavin Newsom in Africa on some fucking safari while this happened, because they knew about it, because it was fucking planned. It's not incompetence. It was absolutely planned. Is a communist, an actual open communist, proven communist. And I'm going to show you right now. So let's go ahead and present that, shall we? Okay. Now this is actually this. Just watch this.
Escheat Karen Bass. Back in the 1970s.
Her name's Karen Bass. I don't know if I mentioned that. Mayor Karen Bass, Los Angeles, communist piece of shit.
Community activist Karen Bass went on at least 15 trips to Cuba, many with a group known as the Venceremos Brigade, a Marxist group started by the Castro regime to subvert American interests, weaken democracies, and spread communism around the world. Founded in 1969, the Venceremos Brigade organized trips to Cuba every year for half a century. They attracted the most radicalized and delusional segments of the American left, including overtly Maoist and pro-Soviet communist groups. In fact, a Los Angeles police investigator who infiltrated the group testified to Congress saying that to be a member of the brigade, you had to be confirmed as a Marxist-Leninist, as a brigadista, and then moving up the ranks to organizer for the Venceremos Brigade. Karen Bass visited Cuba every 6 months. Their mission? To radicalize young, impressionable American leftists in terrorist tactics and guerrilla warfare.
I mean, the woman.
Credit to Alex on that one, man. That's good research by his team. And say what you want about him, but I mean, he's the only public figure that I've seen that's actually not saying this is an accident. He's saying this is, look at these links here. And I didn't need to see that to know it's communist, because I know how we've gotten to where we are right now through the law. And it's 100% communism. Communism is absolute control over your estate. Okay. So let's see what you guys are saying in the comments here. Karen looks like Carl to me. Okay. Nobody has any questions, or let's see here. They used illegal immigrants as dues. Yes, that is actually what I'm gathering also. I don't think they actually used it was a little too risky to do what they did in Lahaina this time. So they went ahead and just used immigrants for sure, because I have video of it pulled up. Actually, we're going to check out here shortly. So if you guys can hang out through the boring law stuff, I promise you things will make a lot more sense. Good to see you, Dorian. Good to see you, Only Up Dudes, Dylan Heron, TN Accountability, Martin Haley. Thanks for joining us this morning. NDB. Good to see you guys. Good to see you. Glad if I missed you, I apologize, because we're rolling through this stream. I do not have to work tonight, and I can probably run a little later this morning, but I do want to spend time with my family this evening. You know, I am a family man, so and not a communist. You know, not a stunning and brave rainbow warrior, anti-family, anti-life, death cultist like we seem to be infested with right now. So if you guys will hang out with me through a little yes, smart meters, Dylan. Yeah, those are going to be used because so with this Wi-Fi, with anything that emits this smart frequency, they can actually train AI to use the frequency along with the router inside your house. Look this up; it's a fact. To actually see inside the house without even having to see inside the house. So they want to be able to see inside your house. They want to be able to see inside your head, and they already can. And do not be surprised if your smartphone is reading your freaking thoughts right now. And if you're just joining me, go back to the beginning of the show, very big, you know, and watch the video I just played because I'm not going to play it again. But they have the technology, they're using it, and this is what they want to implement across the world. Now we are a beacon of light in the dark. So before I get into the now we are, anyways, thanks to Trump telling everyone to fuck off with their well, we're on YouTube again, so we have to say BF, you know, for the COOF 2.0 and mandates and all that stuff, and then openly stating that this is obviously, well, see, even he has to be politically savvy and say it's incompetent, but it's not incompetence, it's planned, okay? Planned land grab. So I did want to bring this up. We had a subscriber yesterday. Let me pull his comment up and read it to you. I'm not going to pull it up on screen, but I'm going to read it here just because I want to give him some recognition and kind of cover this because this is pretty serious, man. So it's a subscriber from Germany, and he has been having some issues over, well, what they just started doing over in Germany. Sorry, guys, I'm pulling this up, so I should already had it up. But so he said that, oh, wow, it's not even showing up on my main page. Hold on, maybe I gotta, well, I can just sum it up. Okay, so he says, hi, we have today a conversation between Elon Musk and Alice Weedle. She is a leader of the party of AfD. This party is described in the MS media as a far-right fascist party, right? So they did have that. They are talking, they were talking about energy, and right after the conversation, the European Union came down on Weedle and said, you'll never have a conversation like that. And see, most people over in Europe right now have no idea that their country is not controlled by their parliaments. Their countries are controlled by the European Union, an unelected tribunal of corporate oligarchs. Okay, so that's the very first step towards what they want to do. But he also sent me something else. He said that over there, they're actually setting up anonymous tip lines for citizens to call in and report anyone who makes anti-Muslim remarks, while simultaneously those people are just graping, dropping grapes everywhere, just grapes left and right, everything in sight. And if you say anything about it, right, just making grape juice everywhere. And if you say anything about it, you go to jail. You post something online, you go to jail, right? England, same thing. You have to have a license to get on the internet in England, in Australia. I mean, all around the world, they enacted their plan simultaneously, and the only place it's not happening is here. Two reasons. One, we don't have a communist president, and two, we have arms. And I'll say arms because I'll probably get flagged or visited by the fucking Gestapo if I say, you know, but that is actually constitutionally what they are. Okay, so if you guys will bear with me through a little boring law stuff, we'll get back to the heart of this Lahaina 2.0 situation over in LA. But with the, so basically psychological operations are as old as civilization itself. Okay. In the 400s BC, Emperor Nero burned Rome to the ground for this exact reason, so he could expand his empire. Because the idea of trust in estates, right? So like people, the family, the house is the first political subdivision of any society. It is the first example of government, and it is the most perfect example of government. Okay, and it has been that way from ancient times. When the first governments in court, or when the first government and the first courts were starting to be held in Rome, they were uncertain about even trying to force anybody to come to court. They wouldn't force people to come to court, and they wouldn't enforce judgments. The people had to enforce the judgments themselves. Now, I'm not going to bore you guys with the detail, but he wanted to take control of the people, more of a solid control of the people. And this is when Emperor Nero's, when Rome became an empire, pretty much, like became a totalitarian empire. And first he burned it to the ground with the consent of the Senate, of course, and they knew about it. And then right after he burned it to the ground, he issued the 12 tables. And I'm going to show you, because there's just one section of the 12 tables that's most important. It's going to lead into the rest of exactly what the United Nations. I'm going to lead you guys through a trail of exactly how these communists are doing what they're doing. How we even got to the point where we're under basically a quasi-communism as it is under the Federal Reserve right now, because your estates are mortgaged. Everything that you own at law is mortgaged. That's why you have to get a license to drive and put commercial advertising on your car, because that lets the cops know, the pirates, that that's the state's car, and they can go ahead and pull it over. And then if you do not have one, but you're a 14th Amendment citizen, they're like, oh, your property's mortgaged. Why hasn't this been given to the state so that we can generate securities from it? But here I'm digressing. So let's just look at this real quick. We've got the 12 tables. Now it's very hard to find a full copy, but I have one I copied and put on Word here. So this right here, table 5, is inheritance and guardianship. Okay. And what I want you guys to realize is this goes all the way back to, let me see, I think it's 480, if I remember correctly, or 449, 449 BC. So even inheritance and guardianship, right, trust and estate, goes all the way back to 449 BC. Okay, so that's what the difference between common law and statutory law. Common law is unwritten. And historically, all the way up to the Magna Carta, it was unwritten. Written law is statutory law. It's supposed to conform to common law in this republic and any other common law-based country, right? But obviously it does not, and that's because you're an infant. So infants don't, excuse me, infants do not have rights. They have a guardian, and they do pretty much whatever the guardian or the administrator says. And that's for my Saturday night law classes. If you guys are confused on that, I'll elaborate as I'm explaining this. But look at this. So it says, and most importantly, it's right here. Number 8, if a Roman citizen freedman dies intestate, which means without a will, without a direct heir. So if a Roman citizen, I'll just put it in plain English. If a Roman citizen freedman dies without a will and without a direct heir, to his patron shall the inheritance said household into said household, means the person above him. So if you put in English terms, your lord or the person whose land on which you are a tenant, right, upon which you are a tenant. And then if that lord is dead, then it goes to whoever his lord was, and then his lord all the way back to the king. And that's going to come into play in just a moment. And they've used the same thing over and over and over again, burning shit to the ground. I'm serious, for thousands of years. And nobody, like civilization in general, does not pick up on it. It's the same merchant class does it over and over and over again. Okay. And so this one little piece right here is why he wrote the 12 tables. Okay. They hide it in real slick like that. And so basically when he issued the 12 tables and everybody had burnt to the ground and nobody was claiming the property because a lot of people were dead, or other people did not know to claim it because they were illiterate and couldn't read the 12 tables, he just said, oh, well, I'm taking this all under administration. And the concept of administration came from the ancient Roman Empire, okay, the administration of trust. It became infused with the common law through the Magna Carta, actually, which I believe was an underhanded deceit by wealthy aristocrats who wanted to basically share the king's power. And that's a long story I'm going to get into tomorrow night, actually. So not super long because we already did part 1, but not to get off topic. So there's the 12 tables. Okay, so we'll stop sharing this one. We're going to move ahead, say about 1,000 or so years, and we are going to look at the Magna Carta. Well, about 1,500 years, right? Yeah. We're going to look at the Magna Carta. And now what's funny about this, you guys, if you're still with me, and this is why I said It may be boring to you, but you can have a better understanding. This copy of the Magna Carta is actually out of the Michigan compiled laws of 1929, because Michigan had this in mind the whole time. And I live in Michigan. Michigan's my home state. Whitmer's a cunt. Okay, can't stand that stupid communist bitch. She was gonna let the fucking Chinese battery factory open up over by Battle Creek, right? Until people got so pissed off about it that they halted the public. And guess what? This battery company is called like Goji or something. And so I don't know if you guys know this, but all Chinese companies are part of the Communist Party of China, the Chinese Communist Party. They have to be. And so when they come over here, they still have to obey the Chinese Communist Party. And part of their constitution, I looked it up, was to start a communist outreach organization in my fucking state, about an hour from me, right? They're commies, dude. All of them. Okay. And they're trying to, but anyways, I'm getting off topic here. Let's get back. Sorry, I get riled up about that shit. All right. So we're not going to read the preamble, all that stuff. You want to listen to the preamble, go to my last Saturday night show, the Magna Carta, right? Double-edged sword. But what I want to show you here, and look how they do and because this is in the Michigan compiled laws 1929, that's what I was going to say. The reason it's in the Michigan compiled laws 1929, and that's where I'm reading it from, is because it's their foundation, the foundation of their lawful authority under common law mixed with trust law to administer the estate of infants and incompetents. And so therefore it must necessarily be number one, above the Declaration of Independence, which is above the Constitution, which is above naturalization, right? Authentication of records. There's the birth certificate, right? That's not the birth certificate, but authentication of records, creating records, government of the Northwest Territory, government of Michigan Territory, admission of Michigan in the Union, blah, blah, blah. Constitution of 50 made it straight. That opened the door for absolute communism to start unfolding through the Court of Chancery. But long story short, this Michigan 1929 compiled laws, no other book of laws in Michigan prior to this was called compiled laws. It was called statutes, revised statutes. And those statutes were supposed to conform to common law, which is primarily unwritten because it's founded on natural law and has over 800 years between the Magna Carta being written, or 600 years between the Magna Carta being written and then the founding documents of the various territories and states being written, and it is entirely compatible in the same. So that shows you over 600 years of unchanged jurisprudence under common law being built up through case law, all conforming to the principles of natural law, with one caveat. If you are not of age or you are incompetent, the ecclesiastical court, the probate court, what is now called probate court, can escheat, which we'll get to the definition of that in just a moment. I have it up for you from Blackstone's commentary. You can escheat your estate through presumption of infancy, incompetence, or death, and they do not have to have your consent. They do not have to have your consent, and that's why this is the founding document right here. And so we go down here, and this is how important it is. This document was also meant to protect the estates of those who know the law, being the barons. And so you go to 2. We have granted to all the freemen of our kingdom for us and for our heirs forever, which is called a addendum clause that was actually on the land patents originally issued by the United States government, for us and our heirs forever, right? Or for so-and-so and his heirs forever. It's called a addendum clause. It's essentially an absolute title, right? Of us and our heirs forever, if any of our earls, barons, or others who hold of us in chief by military service shall die, and at the time of his death his heir shall be of full age and owes a relief, he shall have his inheritance by paying the relief, which would be like a knight's fee, a baron's fee, whatever the case may be, right? That is to say, the heir heirs the earl, blah, blah, blah. But then it goes on to say what happens if they die. If they die and the heir is underage, it comes under administration through the priest courts. Okay, so we're not going to go into that, but notice that's the first thing in the Magna Carta from 1215 is about heirs and estates, just like the 12 tables from 448 BC. So this is not new. This is ancient, and these merchant class people have been doing this the whole time, right? So then we jump ahead to Did I? Nope, I clicked the window. Sorry, guys. Or click the page. I meant to click the window. Let me click the window this time because we're going to speed through these documents. It's dry, boring stuff, guys. I know it, but just hold with me. So yeah, let's go through these psychological operations, right? So you have Nero burns Rome to the ground, right? Jump ahead to 1665, and there's randomly a massive plague in England, right? Followed by the Great Fires of London in 1666, followed shortly thereafter by this that allows them to take your estate through the presumption of death. Now, I can sit here and bore you and read it, right? Or you can trust me and go read it yourself. But it says that, if someone is so absent in themselves for many years, and the lessers, which is a leaser, like, somebody you're renting from, and reversioners have been held out of possession of their tenements because they can't, let anybody else rent it. And this is after they burned London to the ground, killed 70,000 people. And what's funny about that, the same way we're about to look at immigrants setting the Los Angeles on fire, there were people seen and running around London starting fires in 1666. People have written about it all throughout history, not just recently, like not conspiracy theory, but like old books from like the 1700s and the 1800s write about, there were people running around setting fires. And that's because King Charles II and his merchant buddies wanted to escheat all these states because they needed to start the Bank of England, and they wanted to use those estates as collateral. Thus began the very inception of the concept of communism. It wasn't called communism then, but it was absolute control and administration of people's property and telling them how to use their property and what they can do with their property and charging them a fee for using their property. And this right here, and the London fires, another psychological operation, false flag attack, acting like, it accidentally happened, right? We don't know how 70,000 people burned to death. We have no idea how that happened, but you got to now come and claim that you're alive. Everyone, not just the 70,000 people in them, but everyone now has to come and actually claim life in order to have your estate. And guess what? Just like in ancient Rome, a lot of English people were illiterate, or British, or whatever they called them back then. They were illiterate. And so they did not know that. And so the king took control of everyone's estate in his whole realm and then used that to help start the Bank of England. Okay, so moving on, because I know it's dry and boring. Just stay with me. Okay, and I did it again. Need to share the window. Share the window, Ryan. Window. There we go. Blackstone's commentaries. The word is Escheat. Okay, we're going to zoom in on this for you. This is an excellent book if you're one of my law subscribers, right? If you're one of the people interested in law, must have this book. Must have both volumes of this book, Blackstone's commentaries. Every colonist that fought in the Revolutionary War, well, not every, but for the most part, the majority of them had two books in their homes, the Holy Bible and Blackstone's commentaries, because they used common law. Okay, so even as colonists, that's how they were able to write the Declaration of Independence, right? So anyways, because it was under common law, and that's called an action at law. A declaration is what you call an action at law, which is common law. So Escheat, we may remember, was one of the fruits and consequences of feudal tenure. Okay, so feudal tenure, feudal is the origin of the word fee, by the way, right? And also the origin of the word federal. Okay, it denotes a trust, all right, wherein one person holds the ownership title, we'll just call it, right? And the other person holds the use title, just to keep it simple. And the person who holds the ownership title in England, that would be the king, gets to charge the person who holds the use title a fee for the use of the land, a tax on the land, right? And a service for holding the land, which is like knights or baronage or whatever. Like say you're a knight and you're holding this land and you have your own tenants, your own vassals and stuff, and they pay you, you pay the king his portion. And then if you're ever at war, you owe him the service of going and fighting for him. That's feudalism. Now, that was introduced by Norman the Conqueror, which in 1066, which introduced registration, splitting the title. Not trying to get too much into this, but Escheat, that's why it's a Norman word. Also, well, let's get into and that's why we call the federal government, because it's a trust. Like I said, it denotes a trust. And it was a trust created by the states. Okay. That was only granted limited use title of certain powers that originally belonged to the state. So it was a feudal government. But anyways, it says the word itself, in which language signifies chance or accident. And with us, it denotes an obstruction of the course of descent and consequent determination of tenure backed by unforeseen contingency. And I know this is going to make your eyes cross, but I'll translate it. In which case, the land naturally results back by a kind of reversion to the original grantor, right? So what that means is, it says by chance or accident, it denotes an obstruction of the course of descent, meaning inheritance. Okay, so when there is no more blood on the land that was tied to the land through title, okay, when that blood is gone, then it can be reclaimed by the original grantor. Okay, now the people created the government and vested it with sovereign authority in the republic, okay, which is different from the English common law based countries like England, Ireland, Australia, all those, right? It's different because the people are the sovereignty, not the king. And that's why the United States is unique, and that's why they need us to fall so badly. Because as long as our founding documents remain, we can reclaim our original estate. That brings in the great my replacement migration, which I actually have evidence and videos of, and I'll show in just a few moments because we're almost through the boring stuff. Okay, but it means that it denotes an obstruction of the course of descent, and it causes a reversion back to the original grantor. Okay. And so in this case, in the United States, where we are now under Uniform Commercial Code, entirely territorially occupied by the foreign corporation known as the United States. Okay. And then that United States being beholden to the bank and most of the real estate being held by the bank. When people get burned out of their homes, the ownership, and they're presumed dead, or they are actually dead, and there's nobody there to claim it, the title back, or claim, take up the title, then it reverts back to the bank. And that's what they're doing. They're reverting things back to the bank, right? And then guess what? BlackRock's going to come in like a fucking chicken hawk and swoop up all that property for pennies on the dollar, and then they're going to turn it into a smart city. So I'm trying to keep things simple for you guys, but these concepts are a little complex, and I hope you're staying with me because we're almost through it. So I just want to show you, let me see, one more thing, and this is just to show you that from the Magna Carta, where they're talking about the heirs and estates and how the inheritance and the property will be inherited and descend through the bloodline, right? The very first thing in the second paragraph on the first page, they start talking about estates, that the estates of both resident and non-resident proprietors in the said territory dying intestate, remember that means without a will, shall descend to and be distributed among their children. And that the descent, blah, 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 right? And in no case be a distinction between kindred of whole or half blood. So it all goes back to bloodlines, inheritance, houses, and estates. Now, why do you not know that? Because for over 100, and I'd say at least 150 years, the majority of this republic has been reduced to infants. Reduced to infants by the control of education systems, and by wars and destruction, right? By chemical fluoridation and medication and medicine and the food and all this stuff. You're stupid now, and you're an infant, and you have no idea. You have no idea anything. You have no interest in even learning the law. Right. So now we're looking at the final land grab. They already did the basic land grab. Now they're doing the one world communism land grab, where they're just going to burn it down one more time, take it all, right? Take it all. And now instead of, being a quasi slave under the Federal Reserve in the United States, where you still have some freedoms, but now you're going to be an absolute mind controlled fucking slave. That's what they want. Well, let me tell you something. It's not going to happen. You know why? First of all, everybody stood up and said, fuck off to Kami Kamala, okay, in November. And secondly, because we have more guns in this country than any other country, or all the other countries combined. There are more guns in this country than there are men, women, and children, by far. And that's just the registered ones that they know about. Okay, that doesn't include the inherited ones or the built ones or all those other ones, right? That's why they're doing this 5th generational warfare. That's why they're attacking us with, whoops, a fire. I guess we were incompetent. We defunded the fire department, hired some stunning and brave carpet muncher, and then just accidentally forgot to rake up all the dead dried debris in the forest, and we don't know how. I guess, oops, our bad. We were just trying to save some money, even though you gave us billions of dollars for the homeless, and there's more homeless than ever, because we use money properly. It's all a game, and that's the whole name of all this philanthropic. Now that you're an infant, the government gets to claim parents patria, government as parent over you. And they get to claim they're taking public funds to take care of you through welfare programs, when really they just stuff it in their pockets through NGOs and nonprofits. That's how they're doing this. That's how they've been doing it. Right? So, all right. Thank you. There's my boring. I hope everybody has a better basic understanding of how they're doing this again. That was about the most simple summary of a sheet, of property estates, and really that will never do it justice in that little bit. It's so complex, but I can explain it simply because I truly understand it, and took years, and I want you guys to understand it, because this is how we get out of it ultimately. You know what I mean? Because I like Trump, and Trump's telling the globalists to go fuck themselves, and he's a badass fucking businessman. And he's about to, he's about to fuck China's whole plan up, the United Nations' whole entire plan up, and he's going to make America the superpower again economically. But it is our job to reclaim our inheritance of freedom by reclaiming our estates. And that's what my show does, right? Because the federal government ultimately, at the end of the day, in the original republic, has nothing to do with the people at all. In fact, when you voted for president in the state of Michigan, you didn't vote for president. You know why? Because Congress has no authority over you. You have nothing to do with Congress. You have nothing to do with the federal Congress. You have nothing to do with the federal Congress. You have nothing to do with the president. And so what you would do is, first of all, you had to be a land owner. There you go again. Remember, all the land is, is the estate, is part of the estate. One of the main parts, you had to be a landowner. And you would elect a county elector. And the county elector, that was an office, that was who would elect, not just the president, but for other offices as well. And so that was one of the most important, and you had direct control over that. It was in your county, and the counties were much smaller back then. And if the county elector wasn't doing what you guys elected him to do, then guess what? Done. Usually I'd put up surety, right? Or if it got too bad and he was being outright criminal, under common law, you just take him personally to court. And if he does something infamous, you hold a grand jury and indict him. And then, you know what I mean? There's what's a nice YouTube way to say swinging from a tree, right? So you get the idea. We didn't play any games. That's it, So and one of the funny things is these same people, these big corporate industrialists, that are trying to lock away all the world's property into successorship in a corporation that's called mortmain. Oh, that's the last thing I want to show you. This is the ultimate goal of the UN. It's right here. Mortmain. So they, like I said, in history, they started to do this before King Edward. You know what I mean? You had the church at the time, and the people were dying, and they were giving their property to the church, and the church never dies. So ultimately, if that continues to happen, see, people die and they have heirs. They pass away and they have heirs. So the land, progresses and descends through the bloodline. Corporations never die. They do not have heirs. They have successors. So once all the land gets locked up in a corporation, then there's no way to get it back out. And that's the UN's goal. That's their goal, guys. Okay? So Mortmain says, is the perpetual inalienable ownership of real estate by a corporation or legal institution. The term is usually used in context of its prohibition, right? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, of its prohibition. So it says, In the past, it would be the religious office of the church. Today, insofar as mortmain prohibitions against perpetual ownership still exist, it refers most often to modern companies and charitable trusts, right? The term mortmain is derived from medieval Latin, literally dead hand, because corporations are non-living. We know this. My channel name is Burn the Corporate Fiction, right? Well, that's what I'm doing right now. So this is what they're trying to do is get a worldwide state of mortmain with AI governing, controlling, and reading your mind and knowing if you're even thinking about watching my channel. If you're even thinking about watching, if I'm over here and I'm in the United States and we're going to remain free because, like I said, we have more guns than there are people to hold them. And we have a fucking badass right now that's telling the globalists to go fuck themselves. If I'm over here holding my channel and you're over in England or something, you somehow manage to get your hands on a black market laptop with some black market VPN or something like that, whatever, it's not going to matter because your computer's going to tell on you. It's going to read your thoughts, know exactly what the hell you're about to do. And before you even click anything, you're going to have some sort of black suited, black glasses, secret police come scoop you up out of your house. Or house. That's generous for what your smart home. That's going to be like a 10 by 10 box of screens probably that just force you to drool all day. You guys should watch I think it's the first or second episode of Black Mirrors. They would love that, right? Basically the guy, his room is a box of screens. He goes and runs on a treadmill all day. That's his job. And he earns credits. And then he can go and then at the end of and the treadmill is to power the city for the elite. And then when he's done, at the end of the day, he goes and gets locked into his box of screens and he gets to, watch TV or whatever. And then there's commercials come up and you have to pay a credit to skip the commercial, right? You have to pay credits to skip the commercial, right? And then they have a show that's like the X Factor, where if you have a talent, you can save up, buy a ticket to get into the X Factor and hopefully get out of your slavery. And it's a really good episode because just skip it at the end of it. He goes and he wins a ticket there and he's trying to get revenge on him for something. And he goes and he holds I can't even really say it on YouTube, but he basically threatens himself and he starts screaming this most badass speech, dude. I mean, I wish I could recite it here on this show for you right now. And when he's done, they do damage control and everybody just starts clapping for the guy. Clap, 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 right? And they're like, good job, man. Great performance. And the next thing you know, it shows all the people that are on the treadmills watching TV and they skip to his channel. And he's like a controlled opposition truther. And he's holding the thing to his throat or whatever. And he's like, I'm tired of this. I'm sick. This is awful. And then like the show's over and he sets the knife down. And he goes, until next time, and they bought him out. So it's dark dystopian shit. Right. But I'm digressing. Let's get back to Lahaina 2.0. All right. So I have queued up for you guys. First of all, let's take a look at the stunning and brave fire chief. Well, actually, you know what? Before we do that, let's take a look at the fire. Let's see. No, let's take a look at the plan for 2020, Agenda 2028, let's call it, for Palisades, right? Check this out, guys. You'll really enjoy this.
Hi, everyone. By now, you've probably already heard about the LA fire. What I want to show you is some things I found this morning that you may not have heard of. First, I want to remind you that for some time, Los Angeles has been part of the C40 Cities Initiative. This is the smart city plan for the entire world. This video from this morning reminded me so much of Lahaina that I decided to do a lot of deep digging. So I wasn't at all surprised when I found this.
Yep. It's weird, strange. I wonder how long that take to build. right? Like 3 years or so, probably, right? If they're really working on it, spending a lot of money, probably already have all the plans, right? So how convenient is that? Now, again, back to communism, and remember, I told you guys, they like to use a nation's minority against its majority. So they bring out the rainbow mafia as the most accepted, right? Because the whole race thing's pretty much fizzled out. We get along for the most part, other than what they can stir up with the media, you know, or along party lines, which has pretty much fizzled out over the last year or two, as far as that's concerned. But here is the stunning and brave fire chief. Check her out. You guys had a chance. So the fire chief they hired there was, let's see what she says about her goals in the fire department, right? Creating and supporting and promoting a culture that values diversity, inclusion, and equity, right? While striving to meet and exceed the expectations of the communities are chief, or he says, well, okay, so creating, supporting, and promoting a culture that values diversity, inclusion, and equity, right? So that actually in that order spells die, because isn't it supposed to be diversity, equity, and inclusion? But no. So if you were to make that an acronym, that will literally say die. So I guess she succeeded in her goals there, right? Am I just reading that wrong or what? And that's, yes, you know what, Dorian, you bring up a great point. Hollywood. So we're talking about like one of the most depraved places, not just in the United States, but in the entire world. Okay, I mean, these people are openly satanic. And I mean, if you're an atheist, you still have to admit, like, yeah, they do like the devil quite a bit, it seems like, because they're always making movies, like celebrating them and getting caught eating cakes that look like bodies covered in blood and stuff. And, you know, just doing just super weird shit, having satanic rituals, you know, and then like churching up this lady, Marina Abramovic, Jay-Z, and Lady Gaga are like, that's my spiritual inspiration. This chick's over here throwing like piss and blood on a statue of a child, you know, like just weird shit. They're weirdos, right? Super weird fucking people. Okay, like all the stories that come out of there, the people that come out of there, right? Like Weinstein, for God's sake. Like, are you kidding me? The Nexium cult, like all these people, they're evil. So is it surprising that I would not live anywhere near that place? Like, if you're just a normal person, you're living over there, dude, you're gonna die probably. Like, I'm not even kidding you. And that would probably be the best thing that happens to you, because, you know, like these people, this is a total satanic communist shithole over here. Now, this particular fire chief right here also okayed the defunding of her department. Did you guys know that? Yeah. And also, did I pull it up? Let's see if I pulled this up. Because this is maybe I did not. So what we'll do is we'll go over here I'm going to pull up X again. And I'm going to go to my bookmarks. And this right here, they sent most of their fire equipment to freaking Ukraine, guys. Did you know that? Yeah. So not only did they defund the fire department, but they also sent all their surplus, or what they call surplus fire equipment, to the Ukraine. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time looking for this shit, but oh yeah, look at this. They're having to fight water with purses. We're going to get to that tonight too, but I thought I pulled this one up. Apparently I did not. But yeah, they sent all their excess fire equipment over to the Ukraine. So how sweet of them. And that makes total sense, because they probably need all of that fire equipment over in the Ukraine. Definitely don't need it right now in Los Angeles. And you know how you can tell it was surplus and they could spare it? Because they're using purses to scoop water to put out fires right now. That's how you know that it was extra, right? And they definitely didn't need the money. They have enough firefighters and everything to do what they need to do, right? So what'd you say? Walk and Axel said drone hit a super scooper plane yesterday. I'm not sure what that means. Maybe elaborate on that for me. All right, so I'm going to have to share the specific window. Let's take a look at, which one is this? Oh yeah, this is insane, guys. This is going to be like a passing look at the destruction. So first we have a look at oversaw. Yeah, we've seen that one. Hold on. Sorry, guys. Didn't necessarily order these properly. That's why I was a little late, but what is that? That's not it. Okay, we'll get out of there. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so here is our friendly neighborhood, most likely illegals, but I mean, who am I to presume, right? Trying to help put out the fire, you know, because this is totally not intentional at all. You know what? So if you guys, and I wanted to throw this out there actually as an interesting point. If you guys had if you're a shared subscriber with Sovereign Soul Unchained Mind, my dad, he the other night on his stream had an actual Chinese communist agent. Now he's not Chinese himself, but he's most definitely a communist agent. So if you guys see him on any podcast, his name is Eric Joseph is what he goes by, though he might change it now. And he's a super Chi-Com who was at January 6th, walking right next to Jacob Chansley, right? The Viking guy, right? And then goes on my dad's podcast and talks shit about January 6th, even though he was right there. And then talks about how he has friends in Asian countries, you know, and then he was living in China and just conveniently pops in and out. So I was wondering, maybe one of these guys are actually our friend Eric. It'd be interesting. Gas.
How are they throwing gasoline?
Just throw some gas on the fire. Fuck.
The fuck?
Right. The fuck? The fuck are you guys doing? It's insane. You know what I mean? And yeah, here's a video of some of the aftermath here. Where was it? No, that's not it. Hold on. So we're going to get to the great replacement migration in just a moment, but I want you guys to see this shit looks like a fucking hellscape. Excuse my language. I am super cussing a lot this morning. I shouldn't be. My bad. Here it is. Okay. It's just amazing to me that people are going to chalk this up to incompetence. Like it wasn't planned. Ooh. Look at this. That's what it used to look like. That's what it looks like now. It's like you're driving through hell. Right? That's like a Mad movie. Or Resident Evil or something. Insane, dude. Just like Nero. Nero would be proud. King Charles II would be proud. Right? Added to that, with the psychological operations to gain more power, you can add the Whiskey Rebellion to ratify the to draft the Constitution or replace the Articles of Confederation because it wasn't impenetrable. You can add the Whiskey Rebellion, that whole Shays Rebellion, right, where George Washington had to go take his personal army and stamp it down. That was just actually engineered by the Jacobins. And there's documents alluding, I brought this up off the top of my head, but I can show you if anybody questions it. But suggesting that the Jacobins were behind the Whiskey Rebellion and that it was essentially a psychological operation to justify the creation of the Constitution. Now, to add to that, you can add, let's see, I wrote down a little list of a few. So Nero, obviously King Charles, the railroad companies, right, during the frontier days in the Old West, right? So when the railroads and the banks wanted to displace somebody off their property, and they're like, no, we're not selling our land. This is our land. You know what I mean? Well, then they would hire cowboys to go kill that family and burn the home to the ground. This is historical fact. Actually, the entire story of Jesse James, who, history claims is an outlaw, is about that. He got pissed off that the railroad companies and the banks kept killing everyone, and they came after him and his family. And so he was like, you know what, fuck you guys, I'm going to start robbing trains carrying bank money, so he could get the trains and the banks. And he would notably not rob the passengers and just go after the bank's money. That's all he wanted, right? Because he was, I guess, there you go, that's your anti-hero guy that I talk about it, psychological operation. But he did that's badass, right? And so another one be the Reichstag in Germany, right? To assume power, but that's more of like a Palpatine type of situation. Same thing, the Lusitania to get us into World War I under Woodrow Wilson. Literally, Germany put it all over the newspaper, said, do not board this ship, the Lusitania. It is carrying munitions, right, for our enemies, for the English. It's carrying munitions. It is not a passenger ship. It is a warship. And if you're on this ship, you're going to die because we're going to sink this ship. This is historical fact, right? And of course, Woodrow Wilson, didn't do anything about it. And American passengers were on board. They went and traveled over across the sea, went over there trying to deliver the munitions. The munitions were hidden in the ship. And then, of course, the Germans fired on it and said, we told you, and it didn't matter. Woodrow Wilson, the guy who said, vote for the man who will never send your sons to die in a war that halfway across the world, right? And that's what he got elected on. It was like, we must go to war now. They killed Americans. Does that sound familiar? Same shit. So anyway, enough of that. Let's get into this, because not only is burning the lands and displacing people the plan, but after they build their smart cities, do you think it's going to be those same people populating that smart city? Well, no. And all we have to do is look over to England and look over to the European Union, such as our friend from Germany, right, who was telling us about the anonymous tip line to report anti-Muslim remarks that they have in Germany, of all places, right? And just a complete takeover. And it's called the Great Replacement Migration. And now this is not, so it's funny. I'm going to show you guys. First, I'm going to show you a video, okay? And then I'm going to show you a document saying it's a conspiracy theory. And then I'm going to show you the United Nations document planning it from their website. So let's go ahead and get into that. Okay, let's watch this real quick. Share the screen. Start it over.
Whites will not be the majority.
Whiteness is a form of racial oppression.
New Sweden emerging. The immigration process coming to Europe.
Hey, this is non-white people saying this, dude, YouTube. So, don't come after me. And listen, I don't care what color you are, right? We're all Americans here in this country, but we don't need to be replaced by, immigrants. That's just a fact, because they don't share the same culture. They don't share the same values. And I'm not saying legal immigrants are absolutely fine. I'm talking about invasions that are going on in Europe, and the invasions that were planned by the UN that are taking place right now all over the Western world. Okay. And the reason they're doing this, just to be specific, is because, like, say you're a native born American, here in the United States, a United States citizen, right? Which is technically not what you are. Your state is your country, but we'll just go with that for the simplicity, right? You could come across my channel and you could learn how to reclaim your estate, and you could, not be a 14th Amendment debt slave anymore. And you could be one of the people with all of your natural common law rights and ability to use common law, no matter what color you are, because nothing about common law bars anybody by race from using it or enjoying the unalienable rights under common law in this republic. There's nothing in the Constitution, none of that stuff. And you want to say, the Constitution says black people. No, it doesn't. It says not free slaves, basically. People who are not free count as 3/5 of a vote. So they always want to say, 3/5 people, this, 3/5. Yeah, that includes like Irish indentured people also, right? It's not a race thing, but you guys you can't help yourself. You got to make it race. But this is a whole different scenario. So you could find your way back to reclaim your estate. If you're from here and you have these values and you have an interest and you love freedom and stuff like that, the people they're bringing over through, you know what I mean, that they want to bring up through here are just grateful to be here, and they'll accept whatever form of digital slavery as long as they have, you know, a house and some hot food and stuff like that. And the UN wants that. They want, you know what I mean? They want you to be at a subsistence level. And so these people come from very bad countries, very war-torn countries, and they're just grateful to be here. So they will accept whatever chip, they'll accept whatever brain scan, frequency reading, you know, mind reading type of technology implanted all over their house. They'll live in these smart cities, they'll be obedient, and they'll do what they're told. That's the plan. Okay, so now let's watch this. Now I cleared that up a little bit.
Is irreversible.
It's an exciting transformation of the country.
An unrelenting stream of immigration, non-stop.
There can be no white race without the phenomenon of white supremacy.
Sweden is destined to become a multiracial, multicultural society.
And the wave still continues. It's not going to stop, nor should we want it to stop.
Treason to whiteness is loyalty to humanity.
At this point in time, Europe has not yet learned how to be multicultural.
Folks like me who are Caucasian of European descent,
Oh my God.
for the first time in
First
2017,
of all,
will be
folks like him and folks like me, and I'm white, I'm Irish, Scottish, English, have nothing in common. He's an inbred aristocrat from royal bloodlines who likes to smell little kids. Okay. And he's never had to do an honest day's work in his life. It's nothing in common with me. Okay. He was sitting there trying to do the white guilt thing and all that stuff. I'm still waiting for the privilege. You know what I mean? Where's that come in? My broke ass is not. Where's the privilege? Shut up, dude.
in an absolute minority.
The task is to bring this minority together in such a way that it makes it impossible for the legacy of whiteness to continue to reproduce itself.
Absolute minority. Fewer than 50% of the people in America.
I agree, Saucy.
From then and on will be white European stock.
My concern is doing away with whiteness.
That's not a bad thing. That's a source of our strength.
And I think we're going to be part of the throes of that transformation, which must take place.
There's a great fallacy too. So diversity is the source of our strength. So literally incompatible cultures being tossed together like oil and water, say like a culture that likes to eat people's cats, right? Mixed in with a culture that likes to keep cats as pets and loves them and they're part of the family. That's our strength. That's not going to cause any kind of problems, right? None whatsoever. Like a culture who thinks graping, right? There's nothing wrong with that. And then when you ask them about, hey, are you concerned about the consequences of the grape? And they go, yeah, we know they're going to make noise. So we try to make sure that doesn't happen. We don't want that. No, not the consequences for you, you stupid fucker. What are you talking about? Right? You did the consequences for the, the person who great, right? So you fucking kidding me? And this is why Rumble stream flows better, but I love my YouTube subscribers. So we'll keep doing this for now, but it's insanity, right? So these cultures are not going to mix together. You're not going to be able to mix a culture where they'll remove a woman's head, right, from, and if she's not wearing a covering. So how are you going to do that? I'm not really sure. Anyway, and don't get me wrong, there's a lot that come over here that are peaceful, but I'm talking about radicalized, like war torn, like this, absolute, what do they call them? I get them mixed up between the, I'm not even going to get into it actually because I'm on YouTube. So let's just watch this video before I get the channel taken, or the video taken down.
Well, one of the things I think we can be most proud of.
Europe is not going to be the monolithic societies that they once were in the last century.
Now, don't get me wrong, guys. That's not a race thing at all. It's culture. It's culture. If you've been in the United States, your family been in the United States, or you've been in England, your family's been in England for a long time, you've assimilated to the culture, and you're part of that community. There's no difference between you and a white Englishman or woman, or a white American or woman, right? Or a black American. And there's no difference because we all share the same values, and we all share the same ideals and the same goals, and we all want to take care of our families. You know, you're talking about bringing people from disparate cultures over here, and that's who they're burning these places down. North Carolina, they did the hurricane thing, right? Lahaina 2.0 over there in LA, right? The Palisades. They're doing this, and they're not planning on replacing those places, those new smart cities that they're building. They're not planning on replacing the population with the population that was there before. And that's why it's so important, the immigration plan that Trump has and Homan, that it gets done. Absolutely. You know, nothing wrong with legal immigrants at all. Come over here, you take the test, you know, you do it the right way, you're vetted, you're not coming over here trying to do anything crazy. You're not from communist China trying to carry out a mission for the CCP, whatever the case may be, right? And this is where you go from, we're talking about old law today, and then we talk about realistically the situation we exist in today. You know, and this is the whole thing. People get black-pilled when they become truthers, and this is something I want to address real quick. You get black-pilled, okay? Because you end up in a situation, it's usually miserable people who like hate themselves and their lives so much that they just want to watch the world burn. And I call them the Joker archetype. Okay, and that's actually one of the communist greatest asset, the UN and the communist New World Order. It's one of their greatest asset is the Joker archetype. And, you know, it's not just liberals. It's not, I mean, I don't see how a conservative could be that way, but, you know, because conservatives' traditional family values generally have families, grew up, you know, good family, wants to have a good family, even if you didn't, type of thing. But, you know, so you become black-pilled and you go, oh, just everything's fucked. Nope, it's just all, and you're looking for a reason that it's not a good thing. You're waiting for the other shoe to drop, and you're not doing it because you think, you know, because you think they think you're stupid. That's how it manifests in a way. You're like, oh, they think I'm stupid, like I'm gonna fall for this, right? Nope, I know it's just all a trick, right? It's just all one big trick. But secretly, the real reason you hope that is because you're miserable in your life, and you want it to be a trick, and you want the world to burn, so the rest of the world is a reflection of your black fucking soul. That's the Joker archetype. Okay. And then you have real red pill people, right? So I know exactly why we shouldn't be in this situation. Okay. I know exactly. No, William, I'm not going Rumble, because I probably should have, but I'm not. I am on Rumble right now, but I'm not doing exclusive. So, I know the reason we shouldn't be in this situation. I know how to get out of it, right? I know how to reclaim your estate. I know exactly how the de facto government is illegitimate. The president should never have imperial powers, but imperial powers of the president that somehow he was allowed to have because the people didn't do shit for decades and decades, right, exist. And so now they're going to be used positively. So there you go, right? Check this out. Let's see here. So we had the great replacement migration. Now that I've done ranted for a little bit, we gotta go back up and listen to this young lady right here. And then I'm going to show you some documents.
Let's take Amsterdam, the capital. Amsterdam currently consists of 56% migrants. The Hague, 58% migrants. Rotterdam, almost 60% migrants. And of course, most of these immigrants.
I am almost finished with my paperwork, Dylan, but it has already worked. And I got the paperwork from a Colorado Secretary of State website where there's a $6,800,000 lien on 4 court officers or pretended court officers' estates. That's on the record, Colorado Secretary of State website. So I know it works. All you have to do is get it on the record, except for that one was written like shit, in my opinion. No offense, VSOF, or anybody from that platform that may be watching, but that was written like shit. So I've been taking my time rewriting it meticulously. But even being written like shit, because the bones were solid, as I like to say, the law was solid on which he was standing, and it was on the record, it worked like a charm. And I want mine to be pristine. And then my computer crashed as soon as I was about halfway through it. And that's why I didn't stream for about a month. And I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist, but good thing I fucking backed it up onto an SD card because, yeah, I was streaming, talking about doing it, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden my computer is just a blue screen of death with a QR code in it. And I can't turn my computer on or off right? And then so luckily we had a warranty on it or insurance, I forget, my wife does that stuff, and sent it in, and then it took them about a month, a little over a month to get it back to me, and I just got it back a couple weeks ago, so I am finishing it up. But yes, I know it works for a fact. It's not speculation. I can prove it to you. So anyway, let's go this. In fact, at the end of this video, if you guys would like, I will prove it to you. So
come from non-Christian, non-Western, African and Middle Eastern countries. Conclusion.
No, Axel, I got
you. The Dutch population is already outnumbered in the majority of our cities. But let's look onwards. London, 54% migrants. Again, conclusion, native population outnumbered. Brussels, color me shocked, 70% migrants. Conclusion, native population majorly outnumbered. And other Europeans will, of course, follow suit soon if they haven't already. So I'm going to draw the forbidden conclusion here. The Great Replacement theory is no longer a theory. It's reality. And what's interesting about replacement is that the establishment will either deny its existence, or when they admit to it, they say that it's a good thing that the native European population is soon no longer a majority on its own continent. Dutch national disgrace and dubbed climate pope Frans Timmermans already stated in 2015 that diversity is humanity's destiny, and that Europe will be diverse. And of course, by now, I think we all know what they mean with the word diversity. It means less white people, less of you. Imagine this in an Asian or an African country. Imagine their leaders rejoicing in the fact that their people will soon no longer be a majority in their own country. Absolutely unthinkable, unimaginable. So what in the world is wrong with our leaders? Let's take...
Sorry, guys. Just so you know, if this does get struck down, which it should not, because there's nothing wrong with what she's saying at all. I can just see CommieTube just fucking short-circuiting as soon as their AI goes through this thing. If it does, and they give me a 1 week or whatever they do ban, I still have Rumble. So you guys, I'm still going to go ahead and do my shows but I'll be on Rumble, exposing bar pirates and the central banking cartel. And while we're on that topic, it's a long name, so I'm going to tell you guys a few times over a series of episodes so that I'm sure, at least most of my subscribers on Rumble get it, but I'm going to shorten that name to something more concise and less angry, I guess, and more professional. So, this is just the first notice. And then another thing, on YouTube, as my subscriber count becomes larger, especially once we're right at 1,000, we're right, I think 13 or 14 away from 1,000. I'm sure once after I hit 1,000, they're going to go through my old videos and try to strike them. So I'm going to archive a lot of old videos. So I wanted to give you guys a little notice so you have some time to maybe download whatever once you have it. Plus the old videos, there is a lot of things I've learned over the last couple of years that as I was making these videos, I was sharing as I was learning some things and stuff like that. So I also only want you guys to have accurate, good information. Not to say that anything I was saying was inaccurate prior, but it was angry and it was more just fuck everything. But there actually is a solution. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, it's been a journey and a development. Honestly, what's calmed me down and made me realize that there is hope was learning the law and learning the origin of law, the origin and the history and exactly how to reclaim everything. And so, I'd been on this journey for about 10 years or so, and it literally took me about 7 to get to the point where I could understand the history of law well enough to take the next 3 to learn it. and understand it, and that's just kind of how the programming works. And it's not the case for you guys, because I understand it so well I can explain it simply now, and that was my goal when I started this channel. So now I can take, I can translate the big lawyery words for you, or the complex old English sentences, which are really actually just, it's simple when you understand the concept, and that doesn't mean don't feel bad if you don't immediately understand it, because that's just how this works. You just more exposure to it, more understanding the way the world really works, right? You're not supposed to just work a 9 to 5, pay your taxes and die. You're actually supposed to have a house and estate, land. You tie your blood to the land and you pass it down through your lineage, and you're supposed to prosper and grow. And that's actually the purpose of humanity, all the way back to the first estate, which is what they're trying to usurp and place in Mortmain. If you guys remember what that means, is perpetual holding of land by a corporation. They want to usurp the first estate of the first man and woman and hold it in perpetuity and essentially become God on earth. And so, but they're not going to be able to do that. We're going to beat them. So let's move forward. Now I'm going to stop sharing this. So remember, she just said, this is not a conspiracy. This is actually happening. Now, I went to look this up. I was like, okay, let's find the original document, right? Because that's how I am. If you guys been here for a while, you know that I like to give you the receipts for everything. So, especially the law. And so the first article I come across is pretty funny, right? It's here, let me click it real quick over here. Okay, so it's this one, and of course it's some UN dick swinging from the UN dick, or I mean the they them, whatever a they them has in the UN, right? Swinging from the smooth Ken Barbie spot. I'm not sure how that works with the they them z's or dumb shit, but it says was how the Great Replacement Theory explains the world, right? But look up here, it says conspiracy, featured, political. Right, and it's from some common sense evaluation. I'll be like, this is common sense, right? No, it should be called gaslight evaluation, because they're going to gaslight the shit out of you. It says the plan is called the Great Replacement Theory. It's the idea that the white population of Western countries is being systematically replaced by non-white immigrants, especially from Muslim countries. This is a deliberate plan by the global elite, such as the WEF, the United Nations, and European Union, the Uniparty, and the mainstream media, to wipe out the identity, culture, and sovereignty of Western civilization, right? And it says the replacement will lead to the loss of democracy, freedom, blah, 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 right? And so, but up here, it says it's a conspiracy, basically. It says, according to the United Nations, oh, wait, maybe I misread this. This one actually is agreeing with it. Okay. There was a whole slew of them that said it was a conspiracy, so I just clicked one, and apparently I clicked an honest one because I use Yandex, by the way. I don't use any Google-based search browser because they're all censored, every single one of them. So I clicked Yandex. All right, I guarantee if you look this up on let's look this up on Google real quick. Watch this shit. Hold on. I'm sorry you guys are still on that page. Let me just share the window because we're reading now. Let's see what Google has to say about it. All right, so we're going to do Great Replacement Theory. Look at Wikipedia. Great Replacement Conspiracy Theory, right? It's a great replacement theory, blah, blah, blah. And so they've got to call it a conspiracy theory. Let's see what other websites. How does it feel? What PBS, of course, what is a great replacement theory, and how does it fuel? Let me guess, it's going to say racism or something, right? Let's take a look at this one real quick. And racist violence. How does it fuel racist violence? Probably against people eating your cat, right? Because that's probably racism is why you were violent. It's not the eating your cat. No, it's because if it was a white person eating your cat, you'd probably be okay with it, I'm sure. So probably wouldn't want to whoop them at all. Yeah, stupid, right? So it should be called the Great Gaslight Well, I mean, the Great Replacement theory is actually accurate, but like these are the gaslighting fucking articles over here. So now let us go to the UN. So it's a conspiracy theory, right? Well, here it is from www.un.org/development/DESA. You know what I mean? Like development, huh? Okay. Replacement migration. Is it a solution to declining and aging population? Why would populations be declining and aging? What have they done over the last 5 years that would cause population? You know, I can't think of anything. Can you guys? Can you guys think of anything? No? Maybe medical procedure or something? No? Well, jabby jab? No? I don't know. Right? So anyways, this is obviously a heavy and dry document, but it pretty much lays out exactly that of replacing Europe with primarily immigrants from Muslim countries. So I'll link this. Here you guys go. You guys can check this out and verify what I'm talking about. But I feel like they'll definitely take this down if I read it on here. So here, and then I will also put this in the description of the video. But there you go. You guys can have that. Enjoy. And this is also a good article to actually give you. So here's some quotes, and if they're too bad, I'm not going to read it. But here's some highlights from the document that I just gave you. It says the population of North America is expected. It says according to the United Nations, the world population is expected to grow from 7.8 billion. By the way, this document over here from 2001. Okay, so it's not like they're just now, making this. They're making this prediction that we're reading in this from these highlights in this article. These predictions are coming from 2001, so 24 years ago. All right, and we're going to go ahead and see. So, according to the United Nations, the world population is expected to grow from 7.8 billion in 2020 to 9.7 billion in 2050, with most of the growth occurring in Africa and Asia. Meanwhile, the population of Europe is projected to decline from 747 million in 2020 to 710 million in 2050, with the median age increasing from 42.5 to 47.9 years. Population of North America is expected to increase slightly from 368 million in 2020 to 434 million in 2050, right? With a significant change in the racial and ethnic composition by 2050, the non-Hispanic white population will drop 60% to 44, right? That's huge decrease, right? While the Hispanic population will rise from 18 to 27, the Asian 6 to 9. Now, these are not accurate numbers, but it's also not accurate because the way that this should actually be written is by culture, right? So I don't care if you're Hispanic or you're Asian or you're black or what you have. I don't care if you're green or purple or what fucking color you are. I don't give a shit. As long as like you're an American in my country, and I'm sure English people would agree, like, hey, be an English person and conform to the customs of England, right? Don't start introducing Sharia law in London. Like, what the fuck is that, right? Or Germany. What are you talking about? Like, I wouldn't go to a Muslim country and be like, hey, I live here now, so you guys all need to start speaking English, okay? And what's this Sharia law shit? No, we do common law around here. All right. Yeah, no, like take that burqa off her head, dude. What are you doing? No, we don't do that. Okay. All right. No. You guys get what I'm talking about? So, yes, and it does. And that's the big thing. That's what common law is. So, yes, common law doesn't grant you the right to do anything. Common law identifies it, your natural right. That's why. So, in the Declaration, and this is at the Declaration of Independence, where it says all men are endowed with unalienable rights, right? By their creator. That's, first of all, that comes from the common law being based on natural law, and a common law action, one of the common law actions, is known as a declaration. So that was actually a common law action that Thomas Jefferson drew up, right? That was actually and he submitted it. He sent that. He served the king with it, and said, "Here, here's your violations of common law right here. You violated the law. Boom, done. And so people don't realize that when they read the Declaration of Independence, you think in your mind, and I did for years, oh, just I declare. No, declaration is an action at law. Anytime you hear somebody say at law, it means in common law, not statutory law, not Roman civil law, which is statutory law, right? And not any sort of code, not admiralty, right? And not military, right? So there's 5 jurisdictions of American jurisprudence. I'm not really going to get into it, but you can go watch my video, 5 jurisdictions of American jurisprudence. And the common law is the foundation. That's the default jurisdiction. You have to contract to get into any of the other 3, and then ecclesiastical jurisdiction, as has been the point of this entire video, they can just presume you're either an infant, you're not of age, which means you're not capable of managing your affairs. And you can be an infant at any age, by the way, guys. You don't have to be what we would consider a minor to be an infant. You can be a 50-year-old infant. It just means you do not know how to manage the affairs of your estate. In fact, I'll prove this real quick. I don't want to get into it too much, but we'll go to Title I. This is the reason why the Magna Carta is the origin. And this is the reason why they're able to do this stuff. This is the reason why they're able to mandate a little jabby jab, right? This is the reason why they're able to tell you what to do with your body, which is property. It's your property, but it's under administration because you've never claimed the property. You've never claimed it at law. So you're presumed to be an infant and a trustee because the true owner or true heir of the estate is presumed to be lost or dead under the Set the KV Act. And so the trustee using the estate is presumed to be an infant. And I'm going to prove it to you right now. You think, oh, yeah, I've heard this shit before. Yeah, okay. Well, you've never heard somebody who knows it inside and out and can explain it to you and make you look stupid if you try to tell me I'm a fucking conspiracy theorist. So in determining the meaning of any act of Congress or of any ruling, regulation, or interpretation of the various administrative bureaus. Now, the word administrative or administrator is purely and simply only ever a trust term. And that's all that is governing as administrative bureaus and agencies of the United States. So in all acts of Congress, right, any act of Congress where you see the word person, human being, child, and individual, it only means, which is what shall include, right? When you include something at the exclusion of everything else. That's what the word include means at law. Shall include every infant member of the species Homo sapiens. Won't even call you man one because you can't be. That's not. You're an infant member of the species Homo sapiens who is born alive at any stage of development. So let's put that simply. The words person, human being, anytime you see the words person, human being, child, or individual in any act of Congress, either in your state Congress or in the federal Congress, it means infant. No matter how old you are, no matter what stage of development you're at, you could be in the womb, you could be a 1-year-old, you could be a 10-year-old, or you could be a 20-year-old, or you could be a 50-year-old. But if you're a person, human being, child, or individual, and you're a 14th Amendment United States citizen subject to the jurisdiction of Congress, you're an infant. And that's so they can control your estate and use it to send money to the blue and yellow flag country over there, use it to buy weather weapons and fucking lasers and shit to burn down everything. They're all using the mortgage of your estate by escheating it under presumption of infancy to pay for it all. Isn't it awesome? Right? Pretty fucking cool. So I told you guys I'm about to wind this down. I did go a little bit later. We're coming up on 2 hours today. And so summarize Lahaina 2.0, also known as the LA fire. That's totally accidental and not being that you did not see a video of immigrants throwing, or who knows if they're immigrants. I mean, that's an assumption. But either agents or somebody throwing gas on fire over there. So, I mean, it's definitely intentional. Okay. They intentionally defunded the fire department. They intentionally hired a DEI hire fire chief who allowed them to defund the fire department and then sent their quote unquote surplus fire equipment like hoses, masks, fireproof jackets, all that stuff, sent it over to the blue and yellow flag country, right? Again, right? And because I'm sure they need it for sure, right? More than us. And especially since the firefighters are using purses to throw water on the fire over there in California. And the mayor of California is a proven communist, subversive communist, part of a subversive communist organization. Okay. What was her name again? She's dumb bitch. No, that's not the name. What was it again? Oh, Karen Bass. Yeah. So she's a communist, proven communist. Gavin Newsom is a total communist who sucks Xi Jinping's dick, right, on a regular basis. And we witnessed this when the only time he cleaned up the homeless off the streets of San Francisco, I believe, is where he visited. But wherever the hell Xi came over, shouldn't even be in our fucking country visiting with anybody but the president in the first place. Like, what is that? What the fuck is that? Like, even under our original republic, right, the federal government, the states ceded the power of that international diplomatic relations to the federal government, right? I mean, the states still control it collectively, but they allowed it to be centralized in the federal government. So that shouldn't have even ever happened. Why was Xi Jinping over here in California without the president? Right? So he just skipped right past Sleepy Joe, right? An old kid sniffer, and went to Cali and hung out with the used car salesman and cheats on his wife and who knows what else, probably, and hangs out with Harvey Weinstein, and God knows what that man actually really does in his private time. But I digress. I told you guys I'd prove the one thing about the claiming the estate. So, whoops. SOS, Colorado, SOS, boom. And we go to Colorado Secretary of State. You guys can see this. Colorado, www.secretarystate.state.colorado.us. We go down to, where is it at? Program of the UCC. We need the UCC right here. Uniform Commercial Code. We go to search debtor name. We put in the judge's name. Whoops, not there. Yep. Oh, look, I've already done this many times to prove it. But hey, I get it, guys. Need the proof. Then we hit search. Then this case comes up. So we click this for the record. Now we're not going to wait for the record to pop up. We want to actually look at it. So we're going to click here at some point. Okay, it's just going to open up right here. Whatever. I don't want to actually, I have this PDF saved anyway, but it's probably being a bitch because I'm on the internet right now. Come on. You can do it. Come on. It's loading. It's loading. You won't let me open up the other document there. What if I do that? Oh, that's slick. There. Okay, whatever. We still got it. So we're in business. So this guy, we're going to zoom in here since it won't let me show you the actual PDF for whatever reason. And so debtor name, last name Walzel. Well, here we're going to have to go out a little bit. First name Daniel, middle name Austin. This is Judge Daniel Walzel. Okay, I'll show you this in a second. So as per Colorado Revised Statutes 1352-102, all goods, chattels, lands, tenements, and real estate of the four debtors, we're going to have to zoom out a little bit more, are brought forth as lien security as per UCC 9-609A1, public of blah, 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 right? So, and then it says as the secured party is Brett Andrew Nelson, who's the guy who took him through the common law administrative process. Oh, I don't care. I've already done this so many times, William. It doesn't matter. Anyways, what the hell was this? Oh yeah. So anyways, he took him through the common law process, defaulted him because the judge didn't take him seriously, took the default, or yeah, took the he found him in dishonor, took that to the Secretary of State. Secretary of State placed a common law lien because they have to. You don't understand. Common law is still the base law that everything is built on top of, like a house of cards on a concrete foundation. Okay. And so common law is what everything is built on top of. It is the default law of all the jurisdictions. And so you can still use it, but they aren't going to tell you can, because that's like the servant telling the master they're the master. You just go file at law with the county clerk. And then you learn common law actions and procedures. And I have tons of books on them. You can get tons of books on them, and just fucking read and don't be lazy. Then you can escape this, right? And so let's go down here. How much is it for? Here, you guys can see this, right? $6,898,000 right there. Okay. And so we're going to zoom back out, and this, not only is he the secured creditor now, and he has a lien on all of their property, not just the judge, but 3 other court officers as well. Then he took the common law, the common law lien, and went and took it to arbitration. And then the arbitrator awarded him because, again, Daniel didn't take it seriously. And then he took power of attorney, part of the contract that was able to make this all happen, right? The what I'm talking about that you put on the record, that I'm almost finished with mine, includes irrevocable, durable, special power of attorney coupled with interest. So even if they refuse to sign documents that need to be signed in order to hold court, you can just sign them. And it's perfectly lawful because he entered the contract with you. He entered the contract with you by continuing to administer your estate. So long story short, this has all of the, oh, wow, are they whiting out the rest of it? Well, okay, there we go. Yeah, so the whole thing, he took durable power to attorney, irrevocable, durable, special power of attorney over all of them, and then all 4 of them. And then here is his contract, which is actually, like I said, no offense to Brett because he did his thing, but it's very poorly written, and that's what I've been doing is rewriting it. Like, so it's not poorly written as far as the law, because duh, it worked. It's right here. It's poorly written, just in grammar wise. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of things are a lot of things in it are very redundant, and it's almost like throwing shit at a barn to see what'll stick. You know what I mean? So I'm making it more concise and revising it and making it much better, in my opinion. And I'm sure Zen will probably disagree with me, and I apologize. Zen, I respect you, and you do great work, and you teach, like you have some insight and stuff. So, and your guys do well, but it just, in my opinion, it could use a little editing. That's all I'm saying. I'm just saying it could use a little editing. That's what I'm doing with mine. If you ever come across my video, which I know some of your subscribers do, and you want to reach out, maybe, we could probably do that. But anyway, so let's go through the chat. Any questions, comments, concerns, insults, whatever, right? Let's see what you guys got. So we're going to stop sharing this. So I'm going to go back up a little bit into the comments, see what people, the Clergy plan, Peg. Yeah, absolutely. From years ago. Yes, that is exactly what it's, the Clergy plan, 100%. If you guys don't know what that is, look it up. It's because I got to get to bed shortly, but yes. And it's spelt right here in her comment. Very insightful. And Peg, if you're not, because I think that's a picture of a man in your YouTube profile. So if you're not a woman, please correct me, because I feel like an asshole. If you're not, it's just Peg. I figured Peggy, my bad. Old Saucy says Homo sapien isn't a species either, but it's a blanket term to cover a bunch of species to make you think they're genetically the same. I believe that, because Yuval Noah Harari, that's what he refers to everybody as. And he also says human rights are a fairy tale. And that's what these Satanists really want you to think. That's why they try to destroy it. I mean, that's a whole other subject I'm not even going to get into. But genetic science is censored now for a reason. Yeah. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. I didn't know it was censored, honestly. Arsonist was arrested last night. Yeah, I bet they got the right guy too. I bet that was the guy who started everything. You know, was it the guys we've seen just chucking gas out of a truck onto the side of the road? Is it, or, you know, because that was more than one arsonist. Jamie Lee was murdered. I concur with you. The plain truth. I watched him for years before he passed. He was a very insightful guy. A little out there sometimes, but like his biomagnetic research and everything is pretty solid. I think that's probably what did him in, was he started to get a little bit too close to the truth of how to heal and whatnot. We have, land grab and evidence destruction. And well, I mean, there is that. This whole thing is evidence of their intention. Agenda 2030 is evidence of their intention, and then it's just so convenient that everywhere that randomly burns to a crisp, they had already had a plan in place for a smart city. I find that interesting. I just think that's very convenient. So, key bono, right? Who benefits? Whose houses have burned up in this latest fire? Yeah, no, that's true also. You know what? And that thought did it. Okay, so let me read it for people who might just be listening. Big Pine Sailing says, whose houses have burned up in this latest fire? The people from a certain circular food-based gate. Yeah, food-based gate, right? Like the triangular food-based gate. 100%. And I thought about that because there was a lot of rumors from the natives of Lahaina talking about, you know, them using the cover of all the smoke and stuff to disappear what they refer to as various food-based items in that triangular food-based gate situation cult that they got going on over there, or everywhere rather. No, I think you're definitely onto something there. Yeah, it is convenient that that would be the only reason they'd burn that area, because I mean, when they did Lahaina, they left Oprah and everybody else's houses standing. That's a very good point. They left everyone else's houses, like all the wealthy, you know, like The Rock, everybody that has an interest down there and has lots of money. Their stuff had blue roofs painted all of a sudden. It was amazing. And then only the poor people got burnt out. But this time, not so much the case. All those people can definitely afford to rebuild. Ooh, interestingly enough, the the insurance company canceled their fire insurance for that area just prior to, like a month, or I think it was like 2 months prior to this fire. So how prescient of the insurance company to not have to spend all that money all of a sudden. But I wonder if it was not canceled for all the Hollywood stars that just got their, you know, if I get around to looking into that, I will, if there's even any way to find that out. But if any internet sleuths in my subscriber base want to go ahead and check into that, that would be cool also, and maybe send me some information on that. Anyway. Yeah. So, but it's also like it's a gentrification of the area as well, you know, because they want to establish a smart city. And so that was a very wealthy area around it, you know, right next to a very non-wealthy area. And they're just kind of wholesale burning the whole thing. And in the wealthy area, I do think you're right. It's probably to get rid of evidence, and they can afford to rebuild, and shit. The insurance company probably didn't cancel theirs anyways, but all those, you know, poor people probably not going to be able to rebuild there. Probably not, you know. And it's funny because they ignored, you know, everybody laughed at Trump for telling them to you need to rake up all the dry brush and debris in the forest. That's why you shouldn't, you know, he said this years ago. He says, you have to do this. Like, California is prone to wildfires. You guys are idiots. And then he also called Gavin Newsom out, because Gavin Newsom won't release the water that's up in the mountains and the dams. He won't release that water for the fire department to put the water out. So it's an intentional. And then you look at Joe Biden, who randomly shows up over there to commemorate it. I think it was to commemorate a monument, but he for sure commemorated the fact that he was he is now a new great grandfather. Like, anybody gives a fuck. I mean, the only thing that signifies is somebody should call Child Protective Services and get that kid out of wherever it's at before it ends up all fucked up like the rest of them. In my opinion, in my humble opinion, you know, that's just me. But yeah, it was 100% intentional, and gentrification of that area. So let's see who else has got some comments here. Let's see here. I can't find what Laura said if she wants to retype it, but everybody seems to be agreeing with her. Yeah, in REM, on point, of course. Let's see here. Yeah, I mean, I don't care if people doubt me. The evidence is, William, the evidence is there. They just go. Or if you're talking about the law, yeah, I mean, like I said, the offer to debate anybody, including especially lawyers, if there's ever, or if anybody knows a lawyer that thinks that they like to talk shit about people well, there's very, 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 and I'm not being egotistical. I'm really not. I know this because I looked for this for so long, you know what I mean? Before I just finally went to the law and learned it. Right. And then VSOF and his history of common law, he's got some good. He's probably the only other person I've ever met that knows what I know. Or I didn't meet him, but that I've ever come across that knows what I know. And there's really nobody, there's hardly anybody that knows what I know and not just knows it, but can explain it simply to people. Like, because that's Zen's problem, is that like he has a solid base and stuff, but like he doesn't make it. He tries, but he doesn't make it simple enough. And it is very hard to make it simple enough for people. You know what I mean? I mean, it's way simple. I understand him when he's speaking normally, like in legalese. I get it. But that's, it takes years and a lot of research and a lot of reading law documents. And every time you come across a word you don't understand, you go look it up. You're like, what the hell does this mean? What does that mean? What does this mean? You're going to spend a lot of time both in law, like actual acts of Congress and old doctrines and founding documents like Magna Carta, stuff like that, and the history, not just the documents, but the history around it, right? Why did this happen? What was going on? And the biggest missing piece for most people is not understanding that law is directly and intimately tied to property. It is rules of property is the easiest way to put it. That's what law, but they're not rules because they're law. And common law is based on natural law, which is God's law regarding property, or free will but that's more because property is just the ultimate expression of your will. You make something your property to serve your will. So it all comes back to free will, which brings it back to natural law and God. And common law is basically the law regarding another's will, which was expressed by the 11th commandment in the Bible by Jesus. He says, do unto others. And that's essentially that sums it up. I mean, really, he said, I came to fulfill the law, you know what I mean? And so, and I think that's what it meant, but that's just my personal opinion. I'm not going to get all super, like that, because I'm definitely not a thumper, and you guys probably wouldn't agree with a lot of my views because I lean more towards Catholicism myself. So actually, I 100% think that they have the truth, but that's my personal opinion. You guys can dog on me if you want. I've done a lot of research into the history of that as well. So anyway, let's see, what else do we got here? That's not really the purpose of this show today, LJ. But I will check it out personally. I'm not going to show it. He's talking about the fires. He shows what you're talking about. I will check it out, and I will possibly show it tomorrow night for sure. I want to see what he's talking about, see if it aligns with what I'm thinking. Old Saucy says Cro-Magnon, European origin. I'll have to look into that. That's interesting. And I'm going back to these old comments just to make sure. I can't go too far back, guys, but Palisades Charter High School Phase 1 conduct a comprehensive evaluation of current facilities and identify specific areas of improvement. What are you talking about there? Is that like a diversity thing, right? Probably. Okay, Old Saucy, you're probably already out of here, but thank you for wishing me a good day. I hope you have a good day as well. I'm going to end us on a video that's an older one, and channel can't be struck for this because I'm not saying it. I'm not even going to comment on it. I'm just going to leave it out there for you guys to make a determination on how you feel. Yes, make stupid people famous. I got your email, by the way. And as soon as I'm finished, I'll get a hold of you by email. You can also email me if you got links or whatever. I've got quite a few subscribers that do that. So if you guys want to email me with information or whatever, you're more than welcome. burnthecorporatefiction@yahoo.com. Yeah, and so Ryan 1778 on the YouTube side says, hey guys, on YouTube, he says you can tell him that basically Rumble's free, and it is free. I've seen some people having trouble with verifying their account. That's a little strange to me. I'm not really sure why that would be. Maybe try to do it from a computer. Shouldn't be difficult though. Rumble actually has, you know what? It's probably because Rumble has an app and they want you to get the app now. And so you probably have to do it through the app. But the app's not bad. So, well, thank you, Dick. I appreciate the gratitude and the compliment. He says reading sucks and all law is reading. You're right. But you guys are going to have to do some on your own if you're interested in that aspect of things. Otherwise, you know, you're not going to be permanently indentured like you were if Kamala won. So, you know what I mean? And actually Trump is talking about getting rid of the income tax in favor of tariffs. So that will take a huge financial burden off of the chattel of this country. And I think that's an excellent thing, because the honest to God truth is that most people cannot operate as sovereigns right now if they wanted to. So, I mean, not only, you know, you can be as mad as you want about the situation, but it is the situation. You've been dumbed, you know, your family, your bloodline's been dumbed down for generations and lost so much knowledge about the way the world operates and the way you're supposed to operate that, you know, we didn't get into this situation overnight, and we're probably not going to get back to where we're supposed to be if we're ever going back to that specific place, you know what I mean, with the law, because now we have AI, but AI could be used for common law, in my opinion. I said this yesterday, I've been thinking about it more. It could actually be used if we train it with common law, because it's all about what you train it with. We train it with common law, it would actually be great for keeping the government in its place beneath the people. You know what I mean? It just sucks that the government's the one that's developing it, but who knows, right? We don't know what the future holds. It'll probably be a chimera of if you can get out, you know, get out. And then if you're unable to get out or you're happy not being out, then stay in, and that'll be comfortable as well. But at least we're not going to be like, we won't have to experience, and I'm sorry for my European, Canadian, and anywhere outside the United States subscribers, but you guys are going through some shit that I'm very grateful. And I sympathize. I'm grateful I do not have to, and primarily because of my family. And I sympathize with you. And I hope that what we do here in this country is going to reverberate into your countries, and that we can get some kind of traction on reversing this. You know, even, you know, maybe hopefully the incoming administration will economically leverage the other countries into, you know, China's fucked. I mean, let's be honest with that. You know, nobody's going to tell China shit. That completely controlled by the crown of England, and the crown. It's the crown that's really fucking you guys over there. The Crown Corporation, and up in Canada as well, who's owned by the crown still. In fact, Trudeau resigned and turned around and told the Inspector General, who's basically the representative of the crown of, you know, of the England, right, and told them to dissolve the parliament. And so now they're going to dissolve the parliament, leaving Trudeau as a dictator. So is he going to leave in March? Given his past track record, I mean, I hope so. But now he's going to be basically an emperor up there, dictator, rather, because emperor is like a royalty thing. But all right, let's get to some more comments real quick. And if I miss yours, I apologize. I'm just kind of scrolling, seeing what catches my eyes. No hanging with Uncle Hunter. That's probably in response to the thing I said earlier about him being a great grandfather. And I'm like, good God, dude, I can't believe his bloodline's continuing. But whatever. Sanderson says, I'm not part of the two-party illusion. Neither am I at all. I'm just a realist. Absolutely. Actually, both parties are entirely bought out by communists. Well, not entirely, but majorly. And up until recently, the ones that were not just kept their mouths shut and, you know, just collected their paycheck and did what they were told because they were afraid. But dude, I hate to tell you, a new sheriff's in town. He's not going to. He's not your daddy. So everybody looks at the office of president like it's your daddy. That's the whole problem. I just showed you that well, maybe you just tuned in, but you just claim your estate and you're above the government. That's how you're supposed to be in the first place. They can't use your estate. They can't administer your estate. They can't tell you what to do with your property. You can then go ahead and claim your land on the record and all that stuff. And I know how to do that. You get the abstract. You find the last person who had custody of the original title, the allodial title, which came from the land patent. And you find where they stuck it into Torrens registry, because that had to be done through a court proceeding, and honestly couldn't be done at all according to many of the state's constitutions that say all land is allodial. It means you can never register and split the title and shit. But well, I guess you could through contract, but it still had to be done through court. And the majority of the land was just all shuffled right into the registry without going through court. So you can reverse it. You can take it right back to where the last person had the original title, and you can it's a common law process called reversion, and then you can claim it. You can claim it under common law. Claim the allodial title. It means you have the soil and the air, mineral, everything. All right, let's go down here. And this is the black pill thing I was talking about, by the way. This is everything sucks, everything's going to burn to the ground, etc. But yeah. See how far do we go down here? Spelling, cursive. There you go. Yeah, now you're getting onto something. Jeb the communist. Canadians are coming. Okay. Yeah, William McLean. Most people are looking for someone to save them. Never gonna happen. Yeah. Yeah. Well, we did dodge a bullet though just now. If you're in the United States, and that was gonna be bad. That bitch was awful. Right? She was going to do whatever she was told to do, and we would have been sold out so quick. All right, so let's play this last video, and let me show you who they were going to sell us out to, because that's always important. This guy is an absolute piece of shit. He's one of the worst pieces of course, he's part of the Rainbow Brigade, obviously. I mean, look at him. He looks like a fucking, like an underdeveloped chicken hawk, right? Like just out of the egg, basically, but somehow old at the same time. You know what I mean? So like his body never developed, and he's just awful. Let's watch this. Hold on. You guys will see what I'm talking about in just a second. See that? Underdeveloped chicken hawk, fresh out of the egg, just fucking disgusting person. Listen to this piece of shit.
Is critical because COVID is critical because this is what convinces people to accept, to legitimize total biometric surveillance. If we want to stop this epidemic, we need not just to monitor people, we need to monitor what's happening under their skin, their body temperature. Like we walked in here, we had to go through a body temperature test. Now they're using it to see whether you have the coronavirus. But exactly the same technology can determine what you think about the government. Anger is a biological phenomena just like disease. It's not some spiritual thing out there. It's a biological pattern in your body. With this kind of surveillance, you watch the big president, the big leader, gives a speech on television. The television could be monitoring you and knowing whether you're angry or not, just by analyzing the cues, the biological cues coming from your body. Are you angry about what you hear? Are you frightened? Are you bored? This is the kind of power that Stalin didn't have. When Stalin gave a speech, everybody, of course, clapped their hand and smiled. Now, how do you know what they really think about Stalin? It's very difficult. You can't have a KGB agent following everybody all the time. Even if you do it, he's just watching your outside behavior. He doesn't really know what's happening in your mind. But in 10 years, the future Stalins of the 21st century, they could be watching the minds, the brains of all the population all the time. And also they will have the computing power to analyze all that. It's not just having an agent following everybody all the time. The agent in Stalin's days writes a paper report, and you have these millions of paper reports piling up in Moscow. Somebody needs to read them, to analyze them. That's impossible. Now you don't need human agents. You don't need human analyzers. You just have a lot of sensors and an AI which analyzes it, and that's it. You have the worst totalitarian regime in history. And COVID is important because COVID legitimizes some of the crucial steps, even in democratic countries.
Yeah, good thing we're not a democracy over here in the United States, you piece of fucking shit. Yeah, sorry again with the vulgarity. It's just these. Yeah, you guys are right. He does sound like Gru. He literally sounds like the dude off Despicable Me. That is, I mean, did they make that character based on him? I mean, it even looks like, even though he's bigger in the movie, like it's, yeah, I mean, I could see it. I could definitely see it. That dude, same dude who says human rights are a fairy tale. You guys can look into that clip. And the same dude who says that humans are now hackable animals. We're hackable animals. Actually, might even be in the same speech, unless I was reading your comments and missed when he said it. But yeah, hackable animals. That goes right along with the brainwave. And since you guys weren't all here at the beginning, actually, I just decided I'm going to play this one more time, and then we're going to shut this down because it's 9:13. So, which is very late for me and really early for you guys, probably still, or actually moderately. But watch this shit. Hold on. This is the most crazy shit, and this is what he's talking about. So if you think that what he was talking about sounds like crazy fear propaganda, no, it already exists. It's here right now. Check this out. All right, sure, that one.
So first off, a video. It's going to make you see the future and understand a wonderful future where we can use brainwaves to fight crime, be more productive, and find love. Let's roll.
You're in the zone. Even you can't believe how productive you've been. Your memo is finished, your inbox is under control, and you're feeling sharper than you have in a decade. Sensing your joy, your playlist shifts to your favorite song, sending chills up your spine.
Meaning in your head. It's already in your head.
You glance at the program running in the background on your computer screen and notice a now familiar sight that appears whenever you're overloaded with pleasure. Your theta brainwave activity decreasing in the temporal regions of your brain. You mentally move the cursor to the left and scroll through your brain data over the past few hours. You can see your stress levels rising as the deadline to finish your memo approached, causing a peak in your beta brainwave activity right before an alert popped up, telling you to take a brain break. But what's that unusual change in your brain activity when you're asleep? It started earlier in the month. You send a text message to your doctor with a mental swipe of your cursor. Could you take a quick look at my brain data? Anything to worry about?
Fucking crazy.
Your mind starts to wander to the new colleague on your team, whom you know you shouldn't be daydreaming about, given the policy against intra-office romance. But you can't help fantasizing just a little. But then you start to worry that your boss will notice your amorous feelings when she checks your brain activity.
So your boss, so again, just to reiterate this, your boss is monitoring your brain waves from the office. And if you look at somebody attractive and become distracted at work, you're going to have to worry that your boss noticed. This is the world they want. This is who we're fighting against. They're not going to get it, at least not here in the US. But that's what they want. And since this technology already exists, you better be damn sure they're already using it. You ever been thinking about something, looking at your phone, right? Or whatever, like thinking about something, not even looking at your phone. Then you pick up your phone and it's all of a sudden you have ads for the very thing you were just thinking about. See, they're using this already. They just don't have the consent to tell you that or the consent to use it. So they're not going to tell you that they're using it. And they also do not have the consent to use it against you. I mean, other than advertising, obviously, but that's not that. You know what? That's probably buried in the terms of service fucking contracts. You need to just say accept a million times when you get a new phone. You know what I mean? Buried in there somewhere and all that terms of service and agreement and all that. It's probably in there. Oh, by the way, we can read your brainwaves and send you targeted advertising, right? Do you accept? And like somebody said, I can't remember, he said, reading's difficult. So, a lot of people don't really want, especially reading legalese. So I'm digressing. Let's finish this video because I got to go to bed.
You breathe a sigh of relief when the email she sends you later that day congratulates you on your brain metrics from the past
Congratulations
quarter,
on
which
your
have
brain
earned you
metrics.
another performance bonus. You head home jamming to the music with your work issued brain sensing earbuds still in. When you arrive at work the next day, a somber cloud has fallen over the office. Along with emails, text messages, and GPS location data, the government has subpoenaed employees' brainwave data from the past year. They have compelling evidence that one of your coworkers has committed massive wire fraud. Now, they're looking for his co-conspirators. You discover they are looking for synchronized brain activity.
You like how calmly
between
they're
your
explaining
coworker
this?
and the people he has been working with.
Like it's a good thing.
While you know you're innocent
So
of
it's
any crime,
exciting,
you've been
right?
secretly working with him on a new startup venture. Shaking, you remove your earbuds.
This is their
What do you
video.
think? Is it a future you're ready for? You may be surprised to learn that it's a future that has already arrived.
Hold on. Look.
Everything in that video.
Look at who's in the crowd, though. This is the first time I really looked at them. Those aren't the people that are going to be sitting in front of the computer having their brainwaves read. No, these are the inbred oligarch cocksucking pieces of shit that want to control you as tax chattel completely, right? And read your mind and stuff. That's who these are. I mean, look at these three guys. These guys are seriously look like they come off a J.G. Wentworth commercial. You know what I mean? Fuck these people. Are you kidding me right now? Yeah, that's who she's speaking to. That's why she's excited. Are you ready for this future? Oh, yeah, they're ready for it. They're like, shit, we're tired of people being able to disobey us and speak out against us and talk about how shitty we treat them, their jobs and stuff. Yeah, we're tired of that, right? We're tired of not being able to have 100% control over their thoughts, words, and actions. So
that it's a future that has already arrived. Everything in that video that you just saw is based on technology that is already here today. Artificial intelligence has enabled advances in decoding brain activity in ways that we never before thought possible.
Hell yeah, Dorian. Everything's smart, so you don't have to be, right? All right, guys. Well, thank you for joining me this morning. I hope you understand that it's not incompetence that is burning LA to the ground right now. It is planned malfeasance to basically displace the indigenous people there now, right? I better be careful using that word. I might piss off some libtard and be like, it was stolen from some indigenous Cherokee tribal, like whatever. But, the inhabitants there, and then to ultimately replace them with new, more docile and compliant inhabitants in a 15-minute smart city. And they're going to be sorely disappointed. They're wasting their fucking time. It's never going to happen, dude. Never going to happen. Never going to happen in the United States. No fucking way. All right. And the reason that they have to do it so subversively, and I'll say it one more time, that they're not just outright trying to attack, is because we have more arms in this country, and I don't mean the ones that have your hands on them, then there are men and women and children to hold them. And that's just the ones that are registered. So with that, I thank you guys for joining me this morning. I hope you enjoyed the show. I will be, like I said, if this stays up, which has always really been a question every single time I've done this show so far, if this stays up on YouTube, fantastic. If it does not, please, if you are able to, and you are in a country that has not blocked it, subscribe to my, or just follow my, just follow my Rumble channel. I will leave a link in the description of this video after I shut it down, and I will also put one in the video for tomorrow before I stream. Tomorrow night's stream may be a little later Eastern time because I have an interview with Crip Rick, which last time it ran about 2 hours. And so I might be starting at around 11. But if that's a little late for you, I understand. If not, I hope to see you there. Anyways, yeah, cheers. And I will see you tomorrow evening. Have a good day, everybody.